Since everyone's making a tier list, I thought I'd give my own opinion and make more of a realistic tier list on what to expect while raiding, and giving a realistic approach on what you're going to see inside of raids. I will keep in mind the idea of dual spec as well as the buff limit and debuff limit being removed. My whole goal here is to encourage you to play whatever you want to play. However, keep in mind the realisticness of playing certain classes, as certain classes will not be as stackable as others. Also keep in mind going into Burning Crusade where everything changes and some specs that aren't viable now will become the top DPS later on. Going through these very quickly, the King of Classic, the Warrior, the highest DPS, the best tanks in the game. There's not much else to say besides that. You will easily bring 10, 15, even 20 warriors depending on how serious your raid is. Even in the more casual environments, you will still stack warriors just because they are the best. Next, we're going to do the Rogue and the Mage, both very competitive within raids. The Fire Mage does start to beat the Rogue whenever they go fire. The Rogue will beat the Mage on certain encounters whenever they have all of their cooldowns up, but the Mage will more consistently beat the Rogue on overall. Early on, the Mage will be a bit behind, probably down here in the A tier, but they still will be very competitive on overall damage. In Blackwing Lair, you can expect your Mages to be beating some of the Warriors as well as the Rogues. Also, the Rogues are a little bit more stackable early on, especially in Blackwing Lair. Due to the suppression room, you want like 4 or 5 Rogues to make the suppression room go a lot quicker, so you'll probably see that as well. Next, we have the Shamans, the Paladins, and then the Priests. The Priests will go up here just because they are more stackable. They're the best healer in the game. When it comes to DPS, they do have a pretty solid DPS spec if you have too many healers. Same thing for Shaman, the Ellie Shaman spec will be pretty nice as well if you're going to have too many healers and you need to swap between Resto and Ellie. The Ret Paladin, however, isn't going to do as well. You're most likely not going to be switching between Holy and Ret. You'll probably get your Priest to do that inside of an Alliance raid. Paladins are very much mandatory and you will always bring 3 or 4. And then same thing for Shamans, you will bring 5, 6, or even 7 just because your totems only impact the party. They're not raid wide, so you will stack a ton of them. In terms of healing, they all are pretty much the same. The Priest does come out on top though. Next, we have the Warlocks, simply for their curses. You will only bring like 2 to maybe 3 Warlocks. If you do have a Shadow Priest, you could get away with bringing 4, and they will start to compete with the Mages. However, more so on average, they will be a bit behind the Rogues and the Mages. Lastly, we have the Druid and the Hunter. The Druid will still be a little bit lower than the other healers. They definitely will be more competitive, being able to use their HOTS and not push off any world buffs. However, they will go pretty quickly, using all of their heals over time. One plus side to playing the Druid is they do have a pretty viable off-spec playing Feral DPS. If you are to go farm manual crowd pummelers, you could do some pretty competitive damage. You can maybe get away with bringing 2 of them, but don't really expect to see any more Druids than that. Don't let that discourage you, as the Druid is very valuable for that Fairy Fire and Mark of the Wild, not to mention Innervates and Battle Reses, but for the most part, they are just not as stackable as the others. And lastly, the Hunter, one of the most important roles within the raid. Having a really good Hunter can make the run so much smoother than having a Hunter that has less experience. You probably will only bring 1 to pull trash. You can get away with bringing 2, 3, or even 4, as True Shot Aura will help your melee DPS out a bit, depending on what kind of group you're running. They don't offer a really valuable dual spec, so that's not going to really change too much, and being able to use Serpent Sting isn't going to make them do a ton of more damage. You still will bring 1 to 2, no matter what, just because of Trank Shot and being the designated trash puller. But that's pretty much it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and be sure to check out my Twitch, as I'll be streaming whenever the servers go live. Comment down below what you'd like to see next, and as always, I will see you in the next one.